in Eastern Europe. And good afternoon to our audience in Eastern Europe and Asia. My name is Charles Manuel, Director Manufacturing at the Invest South Africa Business Unit of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Welcome to another Think South Africa session. And today we are discussing the South Africa clothing, textiles and footwear industry. We have a fantastic and diverse panel of speakers with us today. And let me start by introducing the panelists. So first up, we have Ms. Nicole Moonsamy, and she is a qualified chartered accountant. Succumbing to the lure of development finance, she joined the Industrial Development Corporation and has been actively involved in the pre-funding, deal structuring, and post-investment activities in numerous sectors. And over the last 12 years, she has been focused on the expansion of the clothing, textiles, footwear, and leather sector. And next, we have Ms. Nerisha Jairaj. And she has over 30 years of international trade, procurement, logistics, and market access experience. Nerisha has led various country industries strategically into expanding into the international arena. And through her leadership, the South African Footwear Leather Council has created platforms in over 30 countries around the world, and has achieved the recognition as the top export council, as well as being awarded the best export promotion council in Africa. And with us also today, we have Ms. Eboka, and she is the owner and director of Winelands Textiles, trading as Hextex. And this is a 75 years old wool-based vertical textile manufacturing company based in Worcester in the Western Cape. Tina was previously board-level strategy consultant besides of various independent and non-executive roles. She's armed with a 33-year career spanning banking, science, technology, research, retail, and manufacturing industries in both the public and the private sectors. And Tina is a recognized business turnaround strategist. Our next panelist is Mr. Saleem Mowzer, was appointed the CEO of Sheraton Textiles Holdings in 2017. And his career straddles both public and the private sector. Recently, he served as the Director General of the Economic Development Department, and prior to that, as the Special Advisor to the Minister of Economic Development. He is currently a non-executive director on the Alstom Ubunye board and serve on the Cape Clothing and Textiles cluster. Next up, we also have Mr. Sean Kirby, who has extensive experience working with the clothing and textile, footwear and leather value chain and other leading manufacturing sectors in South Africa. He has expertise in strategy development, deployment, lean manufacturing, and project management. And as a senior business development manager, he is responsible for one, driving TFG's quick response manufacturing strategy. Two, he manages growth of local manufacturing capacity and capability. And then he's also an active member of the Retail Clothing, Textile, Footwear, Leather Master Plan Program Management Office. And our last speaker would be Mr. Ross Zondagh. And he is the co-founder and MD of Veldskoen Shoes, a business economic graduate from the University of Pretoria, who has started his first business at the tender age of 22 years old. His entrepreneurial philosophy is building something from nothing, that's 0 to 1 story. And he is a serial entrepreneur and currently involved in the following brands and companies, namely a company called Plucky, the drinks company, Spotless, African Grower, and another company called RUOK. So those are our panelists, and I want to thank them for investing their time with us this morning. Now, there are quite a couple of exciting things happening in the clothing and textiles and footwear leather space in South Africa. Firstly, there is a big drive towards to support what is called Made in South Africa labels, which is steadily gaining ground. And then secondly, there is the growth of Wear South Africa, or Wear SA. And this is a movement that seeks to make South Africans aware of the importance of buying locally produced clothing and textile products. A campaign that promotes the South African fashion brands, which has resulted in a growing number of retailers now stocking South African ranges created by local designers. And that's quite exciting. And then thirdly, there is the uptake of digital technologies. South Africans are becoming increasingly exposed to global fashion trends through social media. And this prompted major clothing retailers such as the Foschini Group to accelerate the delivery of new fashion lines through strategies such as the quick response production model. And this allows for greater flexibility, agility, enabling manufacturers to increase or decrease production more easily. And then there is, of course, the exciting opportunity for exporters in the free trade agreement called AGOA, or the Africa Growth and Opportunities Act. And this allows for duty-free access from South Africa into markets like the USA. And most importantly, we are excited about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which will unlock this massive potential market of 2 billion plus customers. And then, of course, lastly, there is the Retail Clothing, Textiles, Footwear and Leather Master Plan, which is an interplay between government, the private sector and labor. So it is with that background in mind that we will be discussing today's topic. And I have the following questions for the panelists. And let me start with Nicole. So Nicole, there is quite a buzz around the retail clothing, textiles, leather, footwear master plan, and the government funding that accompanies this whole program. Could you please tell us what this excitement is all about?
Thank you. Good morning, Charles, fellow panelists, and to the many viewers across the globe. This is indeed a very exciting and very dynamic and new project that is on the horizon for the sector. The Retail Clothing, Textiles and Footwear and Leather Master Plan is something that's innovative, although not new. The concept has always been around. As a sector, we have always strived to work together. So there's always been an unspoken code of conduct between government, between the demand and retailers, being the offtake, between labor and the various other stakeholders. But what makes the master plan different and exciting is that this is the first time that we have a coherent plan with defined goals that everyone can not only participate in, but benchmark our successes against. And that has created an environment and a landscape for greater success than I think the sector has ever seen. What is exciting about the master plan is that we have open dialogue. Everybody's come to the table together. We've placed all our cards down very transparently. Government has come, and I speak on behalf of the Industrial Development Corporation, as well as the funding arm of the DTIC, where we've come and we've said, we have the ability to provide the funding that's required, the enablers, the enabler being funding. Retail, and I know that my colleague Sean might speak more about this later, has come to the party and said, we've got the enabler of demand. We'll put that on the table. The other stakeholders have been labor, and they've said we've got the enabler of what sort of flexibility is required within labor. And we've had the producers and the manufacturers in the other end saying we'll come and we'll present our efficiencies, our optimization, and our deliveries on the table. And once you put all the enablers together, we suddenly have a working plan that makes sense to grow the sector. And not necessarily just grow it for the sake of pretending to have a very busy sector. We have got very clear guidelines, and everybody's committed to these very clear objectives of the master plan. And what the master plan is aimed at, and I think the vision of the master plan is very succinct. We want to be competitive, we want to be sustainable, and we want to be dynamic. And I think the important aspect of, or what brings the excitement to the table, is the dynamic nature of the master plan, which means that as the circumstances change, so does our approach, so does the way we engage. And what has been very important on bringing this master plan together has been the events of the last 18 to 24 months. Globally, we've seen a massive shift in the way manufacturing, we've seen a massive shift in lifestyle. And if we didn't have this dynamic relationship that is clearly articulated in the master plan, I think we might not have seen the successes we have been seeing post the impact of COVID-19 on the local manufacturing sector. It has honestly brought many opportunities. Yes, we are not sidelining the impact on the humanitarian impact of the pandemic, but there have been positives that have come out from a manufacturing and productivity point of view. And the master plan, as supported, like I've said, by the various stakeholders, is been put into place to allow us to use these opportunities to grow the sector. And when we look at growth, the big word we're looking at is additionality. What is the additionality that all our stakeholders can benefit from, and what additionality is brought to the country as a result of the implementation of the master plan? And these we look at is the creation of jobs, and not just any jobs, sustainable and valuable jobs, jobs that create good value for the families that those jobs support within the context of a home and a community. We're looking at additionality through better efficiencies and more technologically advanced manufacturing processes. And I know that my colleague from Sheraton might speak a bit more about the efficiencies and the technology improvements that can come through better and more world-class manufacturing, standard-based manufacturing practices. And also what we want to drive is transformation. Historically, the sector has been one that has been male-dominated. And one of the elements of transformation is not necessarily just transforming towards previously disadvantaged race groups, but we need to see transformation in the sense of getting more women ownership. And it is really encouraging to have colleagues like Ms. Tina on the line with us, who are the forerunners in trying to bring this transformation about. We look at transformation at a youth level. We also know that the sector is a fairly aging sector in terms of skills development, and we want to see that transformation at youth development. We want to make the sector exciting for people, graduates coming out. We don't want to see people only going into the seemingly safe professional career choices like lawyers and accountants. I say that being an accountant, but we want to drive more innovative thinking. We want to make it exciting, and transformation, youth transformation, is a big challenge, and it's one of the big drivers of the IDC specifically, is to drive that transformation at youth level as well. And then also those that historically would not have had these opportunities in the form of those with physical disabilities and other disabilities. The sector has the ability to employ and empower people at various levels of skills and education, from completely unskilled to extreme professionals and very well educated. There is a place for everyone within this value chain. And the master plan is seeking to bring all of these skills, all of these resources together with a common goal of growing the sector. And what is exciting about this is not necessarily just the fact that we're able to do it, but at the end of the day, we'll be able to measure it. And that to us is what is very exciting about the master plan right now. Thanks, Charles.
Charles, you're on mute. Charles, you on mute.
Thank you, Nicole. And you have raised quite a number of interesting issues. And maybe at this point, I want to ask Sean and Saleem also to weigh in, since this is a partnership between government and the private sector. And I know they have an integral role to play in this master plan formation. So Sean, any views?
Great, thanks Charles. Morning to the colleagues and greetings to our delegates from around the world. I think Nicole certainly hit the nail on the head there and given us a fairly comprehensive summary. Something that I would love to add is that for me, the master plan has really given an important bit of strategic alignment within our South African clothing and textiles value chain. I think those sitting on the panel today know that it's a very competitive landscape. And something that the master plan has done is brought all the key stakeholders under one roof, got us sitting around one table, and more importantly, got us pulling in one same direction for a common cause. And that common cause is the growth and sustainability of a competitive clothing and textiles environment in South Africa. So for me, one of the most critical factors for the master plan success, and I think we've made great progress on this front, is we've got all the various stakeholders strategically sitting under one umbrella and chasing one common cause. Not an easy task, and I think we've done a great role getting that off the ground. For me, from the private sector, we obviously have very many different links in the value chain that are housed here. As retail, we in very many respects lead the value chain and drive the dynamics within the value chain. But having the opportunity for our manufacturing partners in both the garment assembly and textile space, sitting at the table with us, working on overcoming bottlenecks and challenges that are holding back growth opportunities in our local supply chain, that is something one would expect happens organically and naturally on its own, but remarkably it doesn't. And the master plan really has given us an amazing framework to get that off the ground. And when we look at the other key stakeholders at the table from the public sector, having the likes of Nicole from the DTI and the IDC weighing in with regard to what industry needs and providing innovative solutions from a funding point of view, from a policy point of view, to unlock opportunities has been critical. And obviously our colleagues in Labour, having them at the table, understanding dynamics that we need to achieve in order to evolve as a competitive value chain. Having everyone there and getting those inputs secured for me has been one of the greatest successes of the master plan, and we're just getting started. So we're excited to see where it goes.
Thanks, Sean. Saleem, do you want to weigh an opinion?
Yes, thank you, Charles, and to my fellow panelists and to all the participants from around the world. A very good morning to all of you. I think Nicole and Sean has covered some of the key elements of the importance of the master plan. And for us as a manufacturer, this has been a critical development in terms of government, business, and labor coming together to address the textile sector within our country. And this has spanned over a number of years. As a company, we have contributed significantly together with our other manufacturers in home textiles to the overall textile manufacturing in our country. Our key partners, namely government, business, and labor, have contributed to this vision of establishing Sheraton Textiles as a world-class, state-of-the-art manufacturing facility and a preferred supplier across our country as well as the SADC region. Our objective in terms of the master plan is to grow our company, to bring about efficiencies, and our objective is to grow across the continent of Africa. One of the great achievements and a significant highlight of the master plan is the commitment of retailers in our country to commit to localization, to buy from local manufacturing companies in South Africa, being proudly South African, and the role that we as a company have played in this as a manufacturer in helping our local retailers to achieve their strategic goals and objectives in line with this master plan. We have partnered with government with regard to resources for our manufacturing facilities, and very shortly Sheraton will be opening up a new world-class manufacturing facility in Cape Town, South Africa. We believe that this is part of the strategic intent of the master plan, and this process is led by our government with the equal participation of business and labor. Thank you.
Thank you, Saleem. So Nicole, before I let you go and have your coffee, what advice would you give to companies wanting to access government funding for clothing, textiles, and footwear and leather manufacturing in South Africa?
I knew there would never be a conversation with that questions not asked, Charles. I suppose if I could answer that question in a bit, could I just take a step back when we just look at government funding and support to the sector? I think one of the elements that is significantly overlooked in the investments made into the sector is the contribution of government and various stakeholders to supporting the sector. The government, South African government via the DTIC incentive schemes have contributed close to 8 billion rand into the sector over the last decade. That is a significant amount of investment that was aimed at improving the competitiveness landscape of the country. We've seen massive positive traction as a result of that investment. But what is most inspiring about it is that all of that government investment was actually matched with private sector investment as well, and an element of co-funding through the IDC, which acts as an independent financier into the sector. So there has been a history of financial support into the CTFL sector, and there will continue to be this financial support going forward. As we currently sit for the current year under review, the government has earmarked close on to 1 billion rand into that will be used to once again support the value chain, the master plan objectives, and drive value chain beneficiation. And that leads to the question you asked, Charles, is that what advice or what would we look for when wanting to support companies? And the big driver of all investment going forward is going to be what is your role, not necessarily just to ensure a sustainable entity, but we're looking at this as a value chain. What contribution do you as a company make to support not only the employers within your company, but the impact in the entire value chain? Because once we have a sustainable ecosystem, then the entire sector benefits. And the one thing I just want to displace and take off the table is that applying for funding to either under the government incentive schemes or through us via the IDC is not a daunting task. We actually are nice people. We want to give you money. There might seem like there's a lot of paperwork, but all we're asking for is transparency and give us what your vision is. We want to invest in the vision for what your company's role will be in the value chain. Transparency and openness is what we invest in. We invest in the managers of a business. We believe that all the equipment in the world means nothing if we don't have the right people running those machines. And that's why when we look at investment, we want to ensure that the managers and the owners that come to us are as interested in sustaining the sector as we are. So if there's one piece of advice I'd like to give to anybody that would want to approach the IDC or via the incentive scheme for funding is show us how your transaction fits into the ecosystem of the sector. And also show us your commitment in terms of management to drive the objectives of the master plan and the South African economy as a whole. I don't know if that is succinct enough. I mean, we could go into further detail, and I'd be more than willing to share the detail of the application process at a later stage. But in short form, that is what we're looking for.
Very sound advice. Thank you, Nicole. And just to the audience, what we will do is to provide the resources. There's a resource tab on the 10X platform where we will upload the application forms and other information that is required for making these applications. So thank you, Nicole. Nerisha, let's move to the private sector for a minute. So I believe that South Africa is truly blessed to have a leader like you driving the leather and footwear sector. Just your passion for the sector is contagious, listening to you and speaking to you. And the numbers show that your sector has experienced phenomenal growth over the last couple of years. So what we would like to hear from you is, what is driving that growth? Can you tell us, please?
Thank you so much, Charles. I'm so excited to be invited on just such an innovative platform to be able to speak about the footwear and leather sector, but about what drives us and how we're achieving this. You've just heard now from Nicole, you've heard from Sean, and you've heard about this wonderful collaborative effort between private sector, between government, between retail. You know, we've all realized that a soccer game cannot be played by one player. We've realized that we've got to get together as a team and all play our individual roles to be able to achieve the goal that we want for our country as a whole. And ultimately, what we want for our country as a whole is to increase employment. So we want to increase employment because that in turn helps with increasing a better education for the children in the country, and it helps a whole lot of things. So what's driven SAFLEC is firstly the passion of my team. I have a team at SAFLEC of 4 women that drives all of our initiatives. We come up with the most wackiest, weirdest ideas because we believe in differentiation. We believe in uniqueness. We believe that just because we come from Africa, we do not need to be a follower, that we can be a leader in what we're doing. So my team gets out there and we develop innovative ideas in order to bring our sector through to the global market and in order to upskill our sector. So over the past few years, for the first time in history, we've brought down experts from Italy, from Asatoria, which is basically sort of like the Oxford, Princeton of the leather and footwear industry. So if you have an Asatoria diploma or degree, you're grabbed by this industry worldwide. So for the first time in history, we brought them down. We bring them down twice a year to South Africa to upskill our industry. When I speak about upskilling, I speak about upskilling from bottom up, all right? Bottom up. So we move with upskilling with trends to understand the global trend market, because the global trend market in the footwear, leather, clothing, and textile industry is 2 years in advance. We seasons behind in the country. So we equip our manufacturers with the understanding and the knowledge of the latest trends, the latest colors, the latest everything. The second thing we do is we believe in upskill, 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 upskill constantly. So we've got programs within SAFLEC that assist our over 200 manufacturers in lean management, world-class manufacturing, business management, how to manage their businesses from a financial, a marketing, and a selling point of view. And we've achieved much through this education that we share with our members. And in a nutshell, SAFLEC and its members understand so much about the global market and the needs of the buyers internationally. We are a country that is able to innovate and work with international buyers, offer them smaller order quantities than they'd ordinarily get from the Indias and the Chinas of this world. And we boast wonderful raw material. There's one thing I always go out into the global market, and I think this is a real great boast point for South Africa as a whole. We are one of the only African countries in the whole of this continent that operates our industry within the International Labour Organization's rules and regulations. So we're socially compliant. Our manufacturers are socially compliant. They employ people at a decent wage. There's no underage people working in our industry. And that's something I boast all the time to the global market because social compliance is so important. The other thing I boast is our ethical sourcing of materials. Most of our leather is a byproduct of the meat industry. So that's immediately falls under an upcycle sort of sale. It's an upcycle sale. So we're reducing waste to landfill by ensuring that we're using these leathers in our shoes and in our leather goods. So that's another wonderful boast. And within the ethical sourcing for the global market, we have traceability of our materials. So there's traceability. So let's just see what I covered and what has helped us as South Africa to increase our exports internationally. Number one, we spoke about the fact that we work under International Labour Organization rules and regulations. We've covered the upskilling. We're constantly upskilling our sector. We ensure that our sector is always updated with the latest trends 2 years in advance. We even give them the opportunity of a design center within SAPLEC to be able to access this information 24 hours a day. The next thing we moved on to is the fact that we use sustainable materials. We spoke about the upcycle, the byproduct of the meat industry with our bovine materials, ethical traceability of the materials that we're currently using, all right? And lastly, let's look at the last part of all of this, is that we're constantly innovating and we're able to meet that buyer halfway by being able to negotiate the order quantities that they require. So that has been our recipe, Charles, to increasing exports. And just in the UAE alone, during a COVID year, 2019, 1.5 million rand worth of exports went out to the UAE. During a COVID year, we increased that to 14.4 million in 2020. It's something we're really, really proud of. And I really take my hat out to the industry. I hope that answers your questions, Charles. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. I think you need to unmute, Charles.
I'm getting.
You muted again, Charles.
I'm good to go now. Yes, thanks, Nerisha, and apologies, colleagues. And I was just going to ask about how COVID affected, your industry, but I think you've answered that. So I'm going to give you $10 worth of advertising quickly. Why do you think South Africa is a good sourcing destination?
Well, you spoke about that passion before that we have as a team. The same passion I have is the same passion that lives within every single manufacturer in South Africa. They are entrepreneurial and they have a passion that is beyond anything. So I would encourage people to purchase more from South Africa because we really can dish out innovative products. Charles, tell me why. Why is Reebok manufacturing in South Africa? Why is Puma manufacturing in South Africa? Why is Michael Kors manufacturing in South Africa? There's a reason for it. It's because we're capable of manufacturing a quality product. We're capable of being innovative. All we ask is we invite you to come in. I'll personally take you on a tour to some of the factories and show you what we're capable of. We've got people like the IDC who's been supporting us by the DTIC for years. So you'll be surprised about the world-class machinery that you'll find within our factories. You would be surprised. They've supported us. They've supported the industry to ensure that they were able to acquire world-class machinery. So things like laser cutting and 3D printing, you'll find that in our factories. So this is an open invitation to every buyer that is on this session today. Contact me. Let's bring you down. Let me show you what we're capable of. I don't want to just tell you. Let me show you.
Thanks, Nerisha. I told you guys that passion is certainly contagious. Let me move on to Mr. Saleem Mowzer. And Saleem, your company, Sheraton, has been around for 100 years. You're part of the Millennium Club. And now, you know, that is resilience for you. And I think what I would like you to tell us is, you know, what is that recipe to your success? 100 years is a lifetime.
Charles, and to the panel and everyone attending today, thank you very much. Sheraton, as you rightly pointed out, was established in 1920. And part of our objective has been that we've always prided ourselves on high quality manufacturing of home textile products and providing efficient, effective, and outstanding service delivery to our customers. Our strategic intention is to continue building a resilient, sustainable, and digitized future, ensuring that we meet the demands of longevity, environmental protection, and quality with both our customers and our suppliers. We are wholly owned by the Industrial Development Corporation, and I report to Nicole and others at the IDC. And we also operate with an independent board, which provides key support, resources, and guidance to the business. Whilst our location is in South Africa, our aspirations are global. We strive towards developing meaningful partnerships with our customers and suppliers, as well as partnerships that contribute towards improving the broader industry as a whole. We also continuously looking at developing world-class manufacturing capabilities with a strategic focus on key product and design development. We are committed to inclusive growth with our stakeholders by working as a professional, accountable team and driving performance and improvements in a creative and efficient and innovative way. The core values of our business are teamwork, respect, accountability, transparency, integrity, and training and development of our staff. We are the supplier of choice to the major hospitality groups in our country, as well as the largest supplier of luxury linen to the largest retailers in South Africa and the Southern African region. We have 2 manufacturing plants, one in Cape Town and one in Pietermaritzburg, and our embroidery division has grown into the largest facility in Southern Africa. We pride ourselves on health and safety standards. It is a top priority, and we have an in-house clinic managed by 2 nursing sisters. We also support workers from our surrounding factories and manufacturing facilities in the surrounding areas. We have positioned our business as an innovative and design-centric business. We are inspired by international trends, and this is interpreted by our in-house design team, which we then manufacture into products for both our local and international markets. Our staff form part of the Sheraton family. Their development and well-being is crucial to us as a business. We have just over 480 staff, of which 81% are women, across all tiers of our business. There are a total of 14 women and only 2 men in the top and senior management, of which 13 are Black. I'm the only male on our executive team of 6, and 95% of our exco are Black. We currently have a level 2 broad-based economic empowerment rating, which is a critical policy process of government and the DTIC. Sheraton also pays above the minimum wage levels required by industry, and we are constantly looking and seeking ways to improve employment stability. We also do not employ staff underage. Transforming our business over the last 5 years has been a key strategic intent by our shareholder and our board. And our shareholder have agreed to a 30% equity into our business by our staff, and we hope to conclude that over the next 18 months. We also work and partner with the CTM entities in poor communities around the Cape Flats in Cape Town. Our shareholder, the Industrial Development Corporation and the South African government, through the DTIC, have funded Sheraton's new manufacturing facility in Cape Town, which I alluded to earlier. Our new plant is uniquely positioned to continue along the journey of working towards becoming Africa's best lean home manufacturing flagship entity. This includes renewable energy, improved recycling and waste reduction, working towards improved sustainability, automation, upskilling of staff, particularly in line with future of work requirements from a technology perspective, and the integration of improved ERP and cloud-based solutions. The new plant will sustain about 520 permanent jobs and could be a catalyst for additional job creation, a pathway for creating a fully digitized and smart manufacturing environment, a lean and sustainable facility in the near future. Funding from the IDC to Sheraton has been a tremendous help in restructuring our business. We are working towards improving on the automation of key areas of the plant, purchasing new machinery, driving efficiencies and improvements, as well as the implementation of a new ERP, digitization, and lean manufacturing. The total funding that we have received from our shareholder, the IDC, is about $15.2 million over the last 10 years, of which 2.6 million US dollars are for improved machinery and equipment to bring about the efficiencies and improvements that I spoke about. Our key customers vary across different segments. We work as strategic partners to our customers to ensure we collectively achieve the future vision as set out in the master plan. This includes innovative product development and introducing unique and key products to the market. We work with all the major retail outlets, with my colleague Sean Kirby from the Foschini Group being our biggest retail customer, as well as with all the other major hospitality groups and key e-commerce platforms in our country. Sheraton strategically sources high-quality products which are converted into a number of different product offerings, and we are currently exploring sustainable and circular economy textile alternatives. Over the next few days, delegates and colleagues who are attending the expo can scan the QR code to get a better view of the wide range of products and quality on offer. Our core product offerings include Egyptian cotton in various thread counts, cotton percale, cotton jacquard and derby construction, linen and linen blends, polycotton blends, and polyester microfiber. We manufacture bedding, curtains, napery, duvet, and pillow inners, and we also run a huge nursery and kiddies range. Establishing strategic partners forms part of Sheraton's key success to date. As such, we continue to deepen our strategic sourcing partnerships with our global and local suppliers, and we only source from ethical and compliant suppliers, which is a priority for Sheraton Textiles. We source our wide width fabrics from ISO 9000 certified and BCI compliant molds in Pakistan, India, China, and Europe. And our fiber and feathers are both sourced locally in South Africa, as well as China and Europe. As a manufacturer, we strive and pride ourselves on quality assurance. Our quality assurance certifications include SEDEX and SMETA for the Walmart Massmart groups in our country, trading under Macro and Game. At the Foschini group, we are accredited with grade A status, and we source our Egyptian cotton yarn directly from Egypt, and we have the Gold Seal certification for our Egyptian cotton products. We, in addition to our customers across different market segments, we also play a key role with other organizations to bring about greater insight and stability to our local home textiles market. These are underpinned by our global aspirations. This includes the DTIC, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the Industrial Development Corporation, the South Africans RCTFL Value Chain Master Plan process, Green Cape, as well as the Cape Clothing and Textile sector. Chairperson, in concluding, I want to end off by saying that one of Sheraton Textiles' key strategic objectives is to develop a footprint across Africa and to strengthen our government's framework of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We believe that this will lead to increasing investments into the African continent. There is a huge opportunity to unlock new strategic partners, sourcing and distribution opportunities. I want to end off by stating that all our home textile products are manufactured locally in South Africa, and South Africa and our continent is open for business. Thank you. You're on mute, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mowzer. And I think your input and your comment is a great segue into the business that Tina is in. Because when I hear about sustainability, I hear, the words from fiber to fabric. And Tina, I think that the Winelands Textiles or Xtex, your company is really located in one of the most beautiful parts of South Africa. So please tell us about some of the new developments at your company and what makes Winelands Textiles or Xtex so special.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, Charles. It's quite interesting to follow after Saleem talking about the 100-year-old Sheraton company. And I want to talk about Hextex, a 76-year-old textile company. I think the advantage of Hextex, a very strong local asset that was built in 1946 and specializing in worsted fabrics, taking advantage of the abundance of natural fibers in wool and mohair locally, as well as being able to blend that with a lot of the other imported silk, polyester, and viscose. Of course, over the years, we've also developed and innovated with the most exciting fabrics. Unfortunately, the South African textile industry, as we all know, went under significant pressure from uncompetitive international competition, as well as the retail industry, that in the long run, those manufacturers, and unfortunately in this case, it looked at companies like Winelands, were not able to compete. But my family and I were very blessed to be able to take over this factory last year in 2020. While it was a blessing, it was a dangerous time given the COVID lockdown. And therefore you couldn't talk to any customer because they were also going through their own challenges. But I must say, it also, I think, came into being with the DTIC, or the government master plan that Nicole so eloquently addressed earlier on in the beginning of this meeting. So that gave us the impetus to see that there are opportunities. And I think in my background, in looking at how to fix a company or to fix a business unit, you always look at the history. Where are we starting from? And where we start from, is there something that is unique to talk about? And of course, Hextex has supplied fabric to the French airline, has actually, I think most recently, created that fabric for the SAA, which thank God is all coming back into the air, for the SAA blue fabric. And over the years, the beautiful formal SANDF or SAPS uniform and other public sector, formal wear, really was proudly using Hextex fabric. And a lot of beautiful blazers in terms of schoolwear, corporate wear, we've been able to support that. So how do we take that forward? And how do we build the company back to employment levels of over 3,000 people fully employed? So where do we start? Where are the opportunities? And I think when I look at the master plan and how integrated it is in the value chain, where can we bring in additional capacity while we fix and make sure that it is sustainable for the long term? So while we look at our retailers struggling with import logistics, we need to just find that sweet spot that says, how can I make sure that while we can bring some grayish yarn, grayish fabric, we can then have quick response for the retailers by having, ready, agile, responsive finishing department, dyeing department, and printing department, so that our local retailers can quickly, receive what they need in their stores. We know today that our customers are actually exposed to global fashion. So how do we make sure that retailers get that? But on top of that, how do we have equipment that is linked to eco-innovation, green technologies, saving energy, as well as saving water, in a way that it then forces us to go to the IDC and other development funding agencies to say, how do we bring in the latest equipment that will allow us to support our retail industry? But while we do that, how do we also continue building skills in the country to make sure that we address the issue of youth unemployment. You know, as a young textile engineer, it was interesting for me to be able to be appointed in a manufacturing facility in the US right out of university. So what we need to do is take a lot of the young technologies and young engineers and train them hands-on in a proper manufacturing facility. And I think that is possible. And technology today allows us to do so. We've got a lot of export in South Africa in terms of volume for wool and mohair. And those are, I would say, when I say wool, I'm talking merino wool. When I say mohair, I also talk very quality mohair, both for, you know, the home textiles, but actually for fashion textiles. If you look at what we're able to do in South Africa with those two fibers, it's fascinating to think that at some point, the CSIR, which is the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, which, you know, I was at some point employed with as a vice president and looking at research, we actually had to say, what should we be doing to properly look after the animals, that is the goats and the sheep? What do we feed them? And how do we support them? So when we talk about an industry where you can source in South Africa, you can go to these farms and see what the farmers are doing, not only with the animal, but with the people who are working on the farms. Then you have to come to the manufacturers ourselves and see what we are doing in our factories, you know, to improve green technology or green manufacturing. And what do we do with our employees? You know, one of the things that I've really appreciated talking to our government, talking to labor, talking to IDC, is the issue of ownership. Because when you own, you better look for what you've got. So I think being located in Worcester allows us to be part of a community and allows us to be a catalyst for new skills, a catalyst for employment and exciting employment. Our capacity at the factory, we know we can run, you know, 3 shifts in order to be able to supply and satisfy customers. But how do we do that? We need the orders. How are we going to get the orders? We will, you know, they say sometimes you cannot, I think, transform unless you transform from your local base. So it starts with working locally and then with an intention to get to going back to export business with our woven fabric as well as our yarns. And that is what we will offer local industry, the retailers, other manufacturers as a supplier, as well as export, as well as making sure that not only the big farmers that, you know, supply wool, but even the emerging farmers that are in the rural areas are able to build the co-ops where we can take up their fiber. So the beautiful thing about the industry, which is why I was very fortunate many years ago to be trained in this industry, is the fact that we start all the way from the farmer, all the way to the fashion ramp, or straight to the consumer. Yes, I understand. Wool and mohair are expensive fibers, but we've been very lucky over the years to be able to blend polyester, to blend viscose, and to be able to work with acrylic and treat it in a level that it is acceptable, because also when you buy a textile product, you want to be able to use it for many years. And the standards when many years ago with, can you get 50 washes or 50 laundry? Nowadays, it's gone up. Even the numbers are even more than that. And I think that we are at a point where we can take South Africa back to where, when a book written from Harvard University by some professors as Teaching Time, South Africa as a sourcing country for fiber, yarn, and textiles, as well as clothing, was actually one of the top 10 countries. And I am very happy to be alive at this time and to be working in an industry where our government, labor, our funding agency, IDC, our retailers are working together through the master plan. And so I'm looking forward to being just a small catalyst to making South Africa a great, great supplier. And they say, it's great to have strategies and plans, but if you don't action and implement, it's just a pipe dream. And I think I'm here to be an implementer and ready to trade to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tina. I have questions for you, but I will come back to you because you mentioned retailers 5 times. And when you mentioned quick response, I see Sean's face lit up. So that is my cue to quickly go to Sean and just Sean, to tell you that we see the Foschini Group as a truly South African success story. You are listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. You've got multiple brands. At last count, you had 4,500 stores, and you are now a global company with on 5 continents. And that's an amazing, African growth story. And I would really like you to tell our audience, how you got there and, what is the magic in that formula of yours?
Excellent. Thanks, Charles, and thanks to the colleagues that are joining me here today. Well, that is quite an accomplishment. When you read it out like that, I'm feeling quite privileged to be part of the Foschini Group. One way of looking at it is it has taken us 97 years exactly to get to where we are today. But we're proud of where we've come, and we're really proud of the sort of role that we're playing in South African society at the moment. A key part of where we are is directed by our company vision, and we have quite a clear company vision, and that is to create the most remarkable omni-channel experience for our customers. And that's in response to what we're acknowledging as an increasingly digital world that we live in, and that has implications for us as retailers and how we engage with our customers. So to achieve that vision, it requires a lot of speed and flexibility to respond to ever-evolving fashion trends and ever-evolving customer needs. And as a group, we identified this quite prominently close to 10 years ago, where we noticed a fundamental shift in the traditional retailing model, which was very much focused on long lead times, purchasing months in advance, between 9 to 12 months before it gets into store out of the East. And we realized that the leading global retailers had shifted from that model, and they'd become a lot more agile and a lot more responsive to their customer needs. And that's where we really adopted this quick response retail model that you alluded to earlier. And to that effect, we've undergone a really rapid journey in some respects. 10 years sounds like a long time, but when you look back and see what we've achieved, it's quite remarkable. And our position in that is we needed to invest. We needed to invest in our local and regional supply chain to enable that quick response capability. And as a business, we decided to do that quite directly. So in 2012, we vertically integrated. We bought one of South Africa's leading garment assembly operations, Prestige Clothing, which at the time employed less than 1,000 people in 2 plants. And to date, we've grown that substantially. We now, under the Prestige umbrella, 5 manufacturing operations. We are officially the largest clothing employer in South Africa, employing over 2,400 people directly in manufacturing jobs through the Prestiges. And to respond to your question, that was the result of direct investment. We decided as a company that the best opportunity we had to enable this quick response model was to put our money where our mouth is, and we invested in local supply chain. We've invested to the extent that we have been able to rapidly grow our local sourcing. If you look at a period of around 6 years, from 2014 through to 2019 alone, through TFG design and manufacturing, we doubled our local purchases of garments, apparel only. And looking over to our vision for Vision 26, we aim to effectively double from our base now. So that is a really rapid set of growth. We personally, as a business, privately have invested heavily in that. To accelerate the process, we've worked very closely with our colleagues at the IDC, who have helped basically invest in capital equipment, invest in process and competitiveness improvement initiatives, which have helped us accelerate the development of our local supply chain. So it's been a really exciting journey to be a part of. It's something we're incredibly proud of, and it's something that's become the fulcrum of our group's strategic capability. It's now the real center point of our apparel strategy as the Foschini Group, and it's something that we're aiming to accelerate quite rapidly over the next 6 years. So if I look at what I would be saying to international investors, it would be quite simply follow suit. We've definitely seen the benefit firsthand. It's a really exciting time to be a part of the South African clothing and textiles value chain. The discussion we had earlier alluding to the master plan, for me, has given a lot of impetus to the space. It's shone a really positive spotlight on the local manufacturing space. And to that end, we're seeing some real improvement in the dynamism, the agility, the competitiveness levels of local manufacturing. And we believe that through the master plan, through our commitments with local suppliers, both owned and non-owned, and with our partnerships with government, that we're able to rapidly expand on that. It's as I said earlier, it's become a fulcrum of our group strategy. And I think we're looking over our shoulder and expecting our competitors to follow suit.
Thank you, Sean. And from one success story to another, let me bring on board Ross Zondagh. And Ross, your company really needs no introduction. In fact, your products have celebrity status in South Africa and is developing a cult-like following around the world. And I believe that people like Prince Harry wears your shoes. And I also believe that Ashton Kutcher and Mark Cuban is partners in your US business. And that's quite something. And I guess we have to thank you for shoeing our entire Tokyo Olympic team. So you've really gone global. So Ross, how did we get there as a young, small or medium-sized company?
Charles, first of all, just morning to all the panelists and my colleagues, and obviously all the listeners around the world. This is an incredible opportunity for us to be a part of such a panelist, and we really are very honored to be here. Charles, for us, firstly, we Veldskoen, we're only 6 years old, so we have a lot of catching up. If I see the people on the call, I mean, Sheraton is at 100, Tex is at 60, and TFG is at 90. But the best news for me is that the great thing is that I'm in an industry that has longevity, and that for us, in terms of brand, gives us a lot of hope. And I think even for South Africa, I think that just spells an incredible opportunity for people to grow in this particular industry. From us, I get this great opportunity to speak about our brand in Veldskoen. And in Veldskoen, we committed to shining a light on South Africa and connecting people positively. We want to become the champion for South Africa. I think that's our big goal. and if I look at it, I'm going to split sort of the brand into sort of, or I'm going to split Veldskoen into three categories. The brand, manufacturing, and then South Africa. The brand obviously relates to our story and our business, and and where we come from. And I'll take you through just a brief history on it, and maybe some milestones and achievements that we've been able to achieve in the 6-year run. So in 2016, our story and our origin story started with a conversation between myself and my business partner Nicole. We actually gave each other a call, and we were talking about the Rio Olympics 2016, where Sescock and our athletes came out, and they were wearing these very sort of dreary green tracksuits that didn't really represent anything about South Africa. And I think both myself and Nick were complaining that it just didn't represent anything about South Africa. We have a multiple of extremely talented and incredible sort of cultures here, and it just didn't represent anything in South Africa. And we started talking about that, and we started talking about what could they have worn, and we went through Medieval shirts, and we went through our incredible foliage and animals that we have here, and our different cultures. And for some reason, I don't know how we got into it, but we got into the fact that, what would they wear on their feet? And for us, we came to a conclusion that they should have been wearing a Veldskoen. To people, Veldskoen has been around here for 400-500 years. It dates all the way back to the Khoi and the San. For us, it was a case of saying, well, they should have been wearing a Veldskoen. But for us, when we looked at the traditional Veldskoen, it was quite a dreary shoe. So what we did was there was a wonderful collaboration between Nike and Cole Haan, and they produced this Oxford Broad shoe with a Nike sole. And Nick said, well, listen, why don't we do that with Veldskoen? And we got a designer to mock it up for us, and we went. And the great thing is we actually took our South African flag, and we went to the designer, and we phoned him on this conversation and said, take our colors in our South African flag and just put them into the soles. And when he sent us through the images, Charles, was incredible. I mean, the pictures were incredible, and we thought, geez, there's actually something there. So after that discussion, myself and Nick in 2016 sat down. We then did the hard task of actually finding a manufacturer in South Africa. And to be dead honest with you, that was where we hit, where it became hard, because everyone at that stage was telling us the only way you can get this manufactured is if you go overseas. Myself and Nick, being very proudly South Africans, we said, listen, we have to resolve it some way or form. And we started looking around, and we actually got 2 or 3 manufacturers, one in Durban and one in Cape Town. Sorry, 2 in Durban and one in Cape Town, that were willing to sort of look at our crazy idea about putting colorful soles onto a Veldskoen. So 2016, we got a local manufacturer, and we started in 2016. 2017, we started as a small online business. The reality of it is, we were an unknown brand, and to get into retail is hard. It's not an easy thing. We needed a bit of experience, and we needed capital. So 2017 was a hard slog for us, but we learned how to manufacture. We learned how to operate online, which was in post-COVID was extremely important. So we had the added advantage of being online since 2017. And obviously with that, looking at growing the business, we realized we need to be in retail, because you need that support. In 2018, we were very fortunate that we got the interest of Long for Life, which is a company owned by Brian Joffe. He is definitely the serial entrepreneur, and he looked at our business and took a big liking to it. And I think he liked the fact that we were online and that we were a very proudly South African company. He invested into the company, and that gave us the opportunity to really grow locally and grow into retail, because it is difficult. Retail is not an easy game, and there are lots of challenges to it. And we had to slowly but surely have capital to fund that, and also just the experience to get into it. So 2018 was an exciting year. We got into a lot of local retail, but 2019 we really wanted to grow. As I said, we wanted to grow into a global business, and that's where we headed off to the UK and to America. And in America, yes, we were very fortunate. We garnered the attention of Mark Cuban and Ashton Kutcher, and we had an incredible experience there with them. And they've invested into the American business of Veldskoen, and we're very fortunate to have them as partners. And they're incredible partners, and have definitely assisted us in terms of growing the business in the USA. So 2019, we had a global expansion. As I said, it's also not easy to grow globally. So it was a lot of hard hours and time spent on growing that sort of distribution. But we managed in 2019 to really get the America and the UK sort of settled up. In 2020, obviously, we got hit by the pandemic, which was terrible for, I think, for everyone on this panel and the whole world. But we decided there what we needed to do is because we were restricted, we thought we could actually grow globally more then. And what we did is we actually extended. So we were in 2019, I think we were in 2 or 3 countries. But in 2020, we actually really pushed the global expansion. And now we're in 30 different countries across the world that expands from North America, Europe, UK, Russia, Middle East, Asia, and Australasia. And that was our 2020 growth. Locally, in terms of Africa, we are in Nigeria, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Congo, and Ethiopia, where we sell our shoe. So that was 2020 was an incredible sort of global expansion for us. And then so 2021 was just, as I said, was living through the global, the global pandemic. For us, what we realized in 2021 was how important your customer is. The pandemic, we realized that we had this incredible support from South Africa and globally, and your customer becomes immensely important. In terms of sort of some milestones, we started in 2016 with the Olympics, and our goal was to put shoes on our Olympians, and in 2021 we were able to do it. And to be honest with you, it was an incredible achievement, and it could never have been done without all the support that we've got through our customers, through our manufacturers, and through South Africa. Sascock played an immensely big role there, and I can't thank them enough. They've been an incredible partner there, and they gave us the not only the opportunity, but they gave us the trust in order to accomplish it. And I think we did it very well. And I was immensely proud of our athletes when they came out in the 2021 Olympics. So that was for us was a very big achievement, and it's something that we'll always be very proud of. Our big in terms of our brand, our big story is actually collaboration. When we started the business, we collaborated with every single South African brand we could, because we just saw the importance of it. And through that, we've been able to grow this global brand, but it's been through collaborations with sort of South African people and businesses and brands. So, but there is a big thank you also to people like Nerisha from Saflic, who play a huge role in our brand. That opens up these incredible opportunities and networks in order for us to grow globally. So we couldn't have been the brand without Saflic. I mean, they've been an incredible support, for our brand. That's our brand. In terms of manufacturing, I can't speak more than what sort of Saleem and Nerisha have covered, and how important the government role and institutions have played, in manufacturing. When we started, as I said, when we started, everyone said to us, "Listen, you have to go overseas." The reality for us is we want to produce products in South Africa, and that's what that's what our goal is, and that's what we will do forevermore. We've been very fortunate is that we've had an incredible manufacturer by the name of Hopeful Footwear in Durban that have been our partners since day one. When we hit through the pandemic, we were partners together. We sat down, we realized what we need to do, and we helped each other through that pandemic. But the reality is that we want to show people, especially in manufacturing. And if we take our product, we want to show people what we are able to do. And the reality is that we produce incredible products here in South Africa. We have innovative, forward-thinking leaders in terms of manufacturing, and I think it's about confidence, about South Africans actually saying and getting behind the manufacturing and saying, we are able to do this, and we're able to produce world-class products and to actually take it globally. And I think in terms of manufacturing, I don't think there's anything that we can't manufacture here in South Africa. So for us, our big thing is to change the narrative and change the confidence globally about people and about South Africa and about our manufacturing capabilities. But again, as Saleem and Nerisha have said, it's those government institutions, InvestSA, SAFLEC, IDC, that really are these active role players in manufacturing that can get us there. Lastly, for us as a brand, Veldskoen is intrinsically linked to South Africa. The better South Africa does, the better our brand does, and that's as simple as that. We've done that by design. Our taglines are two things: the soul of South Africa, and it's for everyone. And that speaks to us that we don't have ambassadors. For us, our brand, our ambassadors is every South African, because we want them to wear the shoe proudly and then to go overseas and to talk about South Africa in a positive light. The reality for us as a brand, with the master support or master plan, the support of government, labor, IDC and the funding, SAFLEC, manufacturing, local materials, and retail of TFG, we have all the parts to become a global competitive brand. And that's what our aim is. We want to become one of the biggest global brands in the world. And with all the support, as I said, of all these institutions and all these people, we definitely have got all the aspects to doing it. And I share Tina's sentiment. I think it is a fantastic time to be a South African company. I think we have everything that's going forward, and I'm just excited to be part of it. And that's us, Veldskoen.
Thank you, Ross. And that is what we call true Africanacity. I was going to wrap up the session by sharing, by summarizing what you have already said, but I'm not going to do that. I think what I will do is just ask 3 questions, and I'll start. And if you could just briefly answer, just in the interest of time. So I'll start with Ross, and then I'll go to Tina, and then I'll end off with Sean Kirby. Ross, when you started this idea of Veldskoen, people literally laughed at you guys. So today, you are an inspiration to a lot of youth entrepreneurs. What would your message be to young aspirant entrepreneurs today?
Charles, a quick one. Start. I think we face a million problems, a million issues. There's everything that tells you not to do it. The reality is it's easy to find those reasons why not to start, but it's very difficult to find that one reason to start. So find that one reason, whatever it may be, and just start your journey, start your goals, start your business. Because when we started, we really didn't realize that we would become what we become. We thought we were going to become this little minor little business, but it's become something incredible. So my advice to people is start and also reach out to South Africans and reach out to them not only locally but globally. You'll be very surprised actually how helpful everyone is and how helpful South Africans are. Just reach out and start speaking, but start. That's my only advice.
Thanks, Ross. And then Tina, as a women-owned business, I know this is an extremely competitive environment, and you must be facing unique challenges. And for women, what advice would you give for women entrepreneurs in this space?
Thank you very much, Charles. I agree with Ross. You got to have that burning flame for passion or passion for something. So where we are now, everybody has tried to tell me how it's impossible to turn around, a mammoth old factory and make it something. But I believe it is possible and it will be done. And so it shall be. But as women, one of the harder things in this industry that is 100% male dominated. And then while there are women working in the industry, it is just largely male, who have told me how difficult it's going to be, how it doesn't make sense, how it's easy to just sell off the equipment and at least recoup some money and go shopping somewhere around the world. Of course, that sounds very silly, but I realize job creation is going to be important. Turning around the industry to be a lot more responsive, to be responsible, as well as agile, in order to make our customers more competitive is what's important. Of course, it's a huge elephant, if I were to say that. So we got to take it in small bites. And I have found incredible women in the financial sector that have been willing to talk to me and give me advice, because there's nothing as terrible as an engineer trying to talk finance. That's the best way to lose each other in the conversation. But I must say, a lot of the retailers, especially men in the retail industry, have been extremely supportive, and of course our labor. We always think there's something adversarial between labor and management, but the greatest supporters for me has been, labor, both the staff inside the factory, but more than that, all the way to the representative union, which is SACTU. So I feel very blessed. And in government at the DTIC, people see the vision, they see the opportunity, they see exactly that if I just stick with it, it will happen. And of course, right now, what we are trying to get is funding, is partners that bring equity, and then is getting the customers. It sounds like a big thing, but if I go to sleep and having spoken to 5 people and picked up some information, some idea, a way forward, then I feel blessed. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to make it happen. And of course, we're now trying to also start reaching out to international potential customers. And I think what we will do for Africa and for ourselves through the Africa Free Trade Agreement is going to be another big opportunity in terms of the market is big, the market is not small. And when we look at the public sector, it always amazes me how all African public sector military has those beautiful uniforms, but all those fabrics are imported. Why shouldn't they come from South Africa? So really our ambassadors and trade offices around the world actually have to promote this made in South Africa, because we can do it. Yes, we can do it. And I really believe we can. So partners in terms of equity partners are welcome, customers and joint venture partners are welcome, and we're going to do it. It's the only way to go. There is no alternative.
So Sean, we'll ask you to close it out because Tina just told us to do it. So Sean, if you could, tell us how you do it, and maybe by way of an example, just tell us about the low barriers to entry, when investing in local manufacturing. I think that will round it out for us quite nicely. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think just listening to Ross's story and what they've achieved at Veldskoen in such a relatively short space of time sparked just that thought around low barriers to entry. I think investors need to identify who the key stakeholders are, and I think a lot of them are sitting on this call today. IDC has been a great vehicle for getting things set up quickly. And I could probably use a great example in-house of PFGs. So prior to being acquired, Prestige Pty in 2008 opened their second factory in a small farming community called Caledon, which is an hour and a half outside of the Cape Metro area. This is a community where there was no history of clothing or textiles manufacturing. there were no pools of skilled labor, and we have successfully grown that plant over a relatively short space of time from those 8 people, which for those that know clothing manufacturing, 8 people barely constitutes one line, to over 480 today. And that's something that we're looking to double to 1,000 by 2026. And for me, that demonstrates that where there's a will, there's a way, and where you have an intention, a clear plan, and you have the ability to identify key stakeholder partners, it can be doable. And how we did that was by putting our money where our mouth was. We invested heavily as TFG Group when we bought them in 2012 in expanding that facility. We partnered with the IDC to capitalize that plant with world-class technology. And we came up with really innovative solutions on how to overcome what was a very significant skills deficit. We're able to take people off the street, more specifically unemployed youth in the area of Caledon and surrounds, put them through a robust 12-month training program, and we were able to meaningfully employ them full-time as they successfully completed that program. So if you look at the space of next to nothing, an area that didn't have skills, that didn't have technology, that had no history of manufacturing clothing, we've been able to grow that into one of our most strategic, largest manufacturing hubs within the Foschini group. And yeah, my message is clear, is have a clear plan, have intent with regard to what you're trying to achieve, put your money where your mouth is, and find the strategic, willing partners within South Africa that can assist in making that happen. And we've got great training providers and great funders that have helped accelerate that process for us at Foschini Group.
I could not have thought of a better way to end this conversation. And on that note, I want to thank all our panelists, and I want to thank our audience for sticking with us through our glitches. And just to say that South Africa is open for business, and we certainly look forward to engaging with you going forward. Thank you, colleagues, and that ends the session on the clothing and textiles sector. So going forward, if you think opportunity, think South Africa. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Charles, and goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yes.
Cheers, guys.
Yes.